What is going on? Here's this week's weekly Witch Queen campaign mission, doing a solo flawless master run on the Cunning. And attrition is still on for this week. I noticed whatever weekly modifiers are on the Nightfall, they're also on the weekly Witch Queen campaign missions. But I'm using Solar Hunter, Wither Horde, Under Your Skin, Void Bow, the craftable Season 16 bow for overloads. And Taipan, which is or Taipan, I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's the craftable linear fusion rifle from this season, which you basically get for free by going to the Enclave on Mars, picking up just to the left of the to the crafting table. There's a mission queue there. You just go there. It'll give you 2 red borders of the Omet solar assault rifle. Follow the quests, and then it'll give you 2 red border Taipans. And then you can craft it. And it's actually a really good linear fusion rifle. I've been wanting to use it several times this season, but hasn't been too many opportunities because all the Nightfalls are arc burn, and yeah, sometimes the linear fusion's not the best choice for a heavy on campaign missions, but Void is a top-notch choice for most of the Witch Queen missions, which probably explains why they released Void 3.0 with the Witch Queen. There's so many Void shields, and suppression works really well against the light bearers. But in this mission, there's no light bearers. It's mainly just Scorn, Raiders, Overloads, and a few Unstoppables. So there's a lot of Void Shields, and the Overloads in this mission are a complete pain in the ass. They're constantly tossing out their totems, tethering the ads around them, making themselves immune. And aside from this Overload here, I think there's only one other Overload that spawns by itself. All other Overloads spawn in pairs. So there's 2 Overloads next to each other, and they're constantly throwing their totems around, making each other immune. And I don't know what it is with the Overload bow. Maybe it's just this bow, but it just seems to take forever to stun them sometimes. But I had originally done this. I was struggling with the Overloads. I would get them stunned, and then because I was stubborn on wanting to use the linear fusion rifle, you have a brief window of opportunity after they're stunned to hit some crits, some headshots with the linear. But if you miss like 1 or 2 crits, then they're not going to be dead, and then they are immediately going to start to regen their health, and then it takes forever for the bow to stun them again. So I started trying to use my super, but even my super wasn't reliably killing the Overloads. Unless I was like above them, so that all my, if there was one single Overload, I could do it. If they're stunned and I hit all my blades on them. But the problem is, most of them spawn in these pairs, and I wanted to take them out quicker. And the Blade Barrage wasn't reliably one-shotting 1 Overload, let alone 2. So I decided to switch up my exotic and go for Star Eater scales. And this actually worked pretty well. And this is going to be an example up here where you've got these 2 Overloads. And the way I'm creating orbs for Feasts of Light, if you don't know how Star Eater scales works, once your super is charged, I believe your super just does more damage at base from the exotic itself. But if you collect orbs, once your super is charged, you get what's called Feasts of Light, and that stacks up to 4 times. Look at that, both Overloads dead. I was Feast of Light times 4 there, so 1 super took out 2 Overloads, and all I did was stun them. And because I'm using Explosive Head on my bow, I was able to stun both overloads at the same time, just from the explosive damage from explosive head. So that's one good thing about the bow, even though it does take forever to stun them. Once they've come out of that stun, it is good for initial stuns. And then for my unstoppable, I'm using the solar powered melee mod that came with the seasonal artifact. So I've got that on my headpiece. So I just need to make sure that I've got my knife trick up and ready for when there's unstoppables. And I was originally also using healing grenades, but I was using a different exotic. When I was using healing grenades, I was using Ophidia Spathe, so that you get 2 knife tricks, and then you can set off ignitions just by throwing 2 knife tricks at a beefy enemy. Like you throw 2 knife tricks at an unstoppable, and it ignites and blows up. But 1 knife trick doesn't scorch it enough to cause an ignition, so I sacrificed the healing grenade for a fusion grenade. So basically you need 100 stacks of scorch to set off an ignition. A knife trick does, if all 3 of the blades in the knife trick hit the enemy, it does 60 stacks of scorch. So then you just need 40 more. A fusion grenade does exactly 40. So there you go. 1 knife trick plus a fusion grenade, and you get an ignition. And I wasn't even worried about having 100 discipline. As long as I had tier 8 discipline, you get fusion grenades back fast enough. Not to mention I'm using impact induction on my arm piece, so that whenever I do damage with charged melee, I get grenade energy. So here's this is the other overload that spawns by itself. You can super the overload and then just skip this section and go straight through that tunnel. But even if you're not skipping all these enemies, it's good to go through this tunnel right away, because it's you're creating a choke point for all the enemies. So how am I making orbs to get Feast of Light going on Blade Barrage for my Star Eater scales? Well, I'm using Kinetic Siphon. So my Wither Horde, anytime I get multi-kills with Wither Horde, it spawns an Orb of Power. I'm also using the Fragment that gives you plus 10 resilience for if you set off an ignition. I think it's rapid kills with ignitions spawns an Orb of Power. So I was creating orbs from Wither Horde and from ignitions. And then of course orbs also charge up your super, so it's good to just have orbs laying around just to get your super charged. But I'm also using the I can't remember what it is. It's like Ashes to Assets, but for charged melee. So anytime I kill enemies with my charged melee, it grants super energy. On top of that, I'm using Melee Well Maker. So a solar well will drop when I use a charged melee and kill an enemy. And I'm using Font of Wisdom. So I essentially have 100 intellect almost this whole mission. As long as I pick up a solar well, I have 100 intellect for like 30 seconds. So yeah, I'm getting my super back very fast. I was hoping to take out these 2 overloads together as well, but it's kind of tricky. In order to do it, you basically have to wait till the overloads are bunched up together, close to each other, and then 1 arrow with explosive head will stun them both, and then you could super and kill them both at the same time. But it's pretty situational. So I think in this run it was just that first pair of overloads that I got down with 1 super. The rest of the pairs of overloads, I managed to take out 1, and then the other one was like almost finishable, so it wasn't a big deal. Got to be careful here. They changed they changed all these weekly missions. I don't know why, but it used to be where you would have to activate the Deepsight resonance. Now the Deepsight resonance always it always activates itself and counts down. So you have to watch. You'll hear the audio cue of when the Deepsight is active, and you'll hear for like when it's about to expire, like it's counting down from 10 seconds. And you can see it on the left of your screen, of course, too. But you got to be careful because you're not the one activating the Deepsight resonance and making the platforms appear out of nowhere. The game's just automatically cycling through that. So you could falsely think that you got time on your hands. You see the platform there, you go to jump on it, but little did you know the timer's about to expire, and then the platform vanishes from underneath you and you die. So gotta watch out for that. Of course, I'm trying to do this without dying. You don't need to. I think you lose points for dying, but I'm sure that generally if you do these missions in decent time, you can probably die like 2 or 3 times and still fairly easily get your 100,000 points for your weekly pinnacle. I'm not doing this to farm either. I'm just doing it to put up the video and experiment with different loadouts and challenging myself to do these without any deaths. So here's the next set of overloads. And you might have noticed back before these guys, I took a lot of the Scorn Raiders out from a distance because they will, if you're not moving, if you're just sitting still, not paying attention, they can one-shot you with they're like snipers. So here they're both together. I was a little bit late on my Blade Barrage there, but look how much damage it did. It still took one out completely, and the other one was finishable. So I was pretty happy with that. Alright, on to the next set of platforms. So I've got 13 seconds on Deepsight. Actually, I don't know why I did this. I should have just kept going right there. Instead, I decided to stop here, and I was going to just jump when the timer expired and hope that the platform would spawn underneath me, and it did. So, I don't know. I probably should have been dead there. But yeah, don't do that. If you think you have enough time, then obviously commit and try and make it across. Don't stop midway and then plan on doing, unless you're like Warlock where you can jump up and hover in the air for like 5 seconds. But yeah, either commit or just wait. See? So the Deepsight there was, if you're not paying attention, that would have been an easy death with the timing. So now we're making our way down to the plate to lower the bridge, to go into the Temple of the Cunning, which is where the big worm boss spawns. So you get a bunch of Screeb here. Mainly on the 2nd and 3rd waves, there's a ton of Screeb, so Wither Horde is very good for these Witch Queen missions, especially playing solo. And I would probably go for a lot of Nightfalls as well. I was originally using Osteo, the Osteo Striga, exotic SMG that you can craft. I think it came with the deluxe edition of Witch Queen. It's also very good. But the difference between Wither Horde and Osteo, they both do tick damage over time. Osteo spreads poison. But with the Osteo, you gotta sit there and shoot. You have to shoot enough bullets into the enemy for them to emit this blast of poison around them, which is like an AoE detonation. It actually spawns, because I'm using Explosive Wellmaker for one of my mods, So anytime I set off ignitions, grenade kills, explosive kills in general, if I kill like 2 more enemies with 1 explosion, it spawns a solar well. It actually works with Osteostriga. And it also obviously works with Wither Horde, even though it's not really an explosion, but yeah, it does work.
We're lowering the drawbridge now.
And of course I've got my knife trick and my fusion grenade for ignitions on demand. Well, I say on demand, but obviously you have to do it on an enemy like a yellow bar or a champion or a boss that has enough health to be able to take if you're just using it on a red bar, they're going to be dead by the time your knife has gone through them. So throwing a fusion nade after is pointless. But yeah, the enemy has to have enough health. See, like that. He had enough health to withstand the knife trick, so he was then able to take the fusion grenade, 100 stacks of scorch, and he ignites. Alright, so there's 2 unstoppables here. On Legend it's just 1 unstoppable, and the other one's like an ultra. So yeah, this is a little bit tricky. You can stun them both at the same time if they get close enough to each other. This was a little bit of a messy scenario here. I didn't get both of them stunned at the same time, and my super wasn't super effective either. But I survived, so now we're on to kind of the pre-boss fight and the boss fight. This first part of the this kind of pre-boss fight is up against, I don't know what, let's see what this guy's name is. He's like a Scorn Raider boss, and he'll one-shot snipe you. But yeah, you pretty much get a free super on him right out the gate. You just wait and super him, and then I knife trick, fusion grenade, set off ignition, and then I'm radiant going into this section. I hop up on this I always go to the same spot here. I always go left. I think I've tried going right before, but I'm just instinctually I'm comfortable going left, so I always do the same thing. I have a lot of void shield, Scorn in here, and you're safe in this corner. Like, the boss is never going to push you up here. He will get an angle on you on the backside, like over looking towards the middle. If you leave yourself in the back alleyway there, the boss can go to the middle and get an angle on you and snipe you. So you can get one shot there, but he never goes far right here to get an angle on you. So on this right side, you're always safe from the boss. What you're not safe from is there's always like 2 or 3 of those yellow bar void shielded Scorn, and they will, just like the overloads, they're gonna throw totems down, make each other immune. So you gotta watch out for them. So once you take off, I think his name's Termiks. Once you take enough of his health bar down, he'll go immune. When he's like at about 20% of his health, he'll go immune. But as you take his damage down, he will spawn waves of ads, and you can hear him spawning. And obviously you can see it on your radar, so you just gotta be careful. It's tempting to just stay there and do as much damage as you can, and I'm pretty liberal with it. Like, I'm not too worried about all the ads coming, because I can always hop up onto that ledge there, shoot a Wither Horde down. So, and I haven't talked about attrition for this, but so what am I doing? I'm not using healing grenades, so what am I doing to heal myself? Other than picking up the Wells of Life from attrition. Well, I'm using Wells of Life, or Well of Light, sorry. Attrition spawns the white Wells of Light. My build, I I have Well of Life on one of my armor pieces, so that when I pick up a solar well, I get healing for 10 seconds. And I'm making a lot of wells because there's a lot of explosions, Wither Horde, melee well maker, so my charged melee kills. So I can pretty much spawn solar wells on demand. Not always, so like here, see my health was stuck at like halfway for like 30 seconds. So there we go, he's immune. And the linear fusion rifle, it does a lot of damage. Had a lot of fun using it. I crafted it and got it to level 16 or whatever, and put my enhanced perks on it. On mine, because I mostly play solo, I didn't go with the with like the raid god roll, which would be triple tap with firing line. I went with what I would call the solo god roll, which is triple tap with frenzy. Same thing on my storm chaser, like frenzy. I always go with frenzy. On most of my weapons, if frenzy is an option, I'll go for it. Because all you gotta do to proc frenzy is be in combat. Either an enemy shooting at you, or you're shooting at an enemy, or both. And after about, I think it's 10-12 seconds, frenzy kicks in, and the timer just, frenzy is always there as long as you're in combat. And it does something like 10 to 20% damage bonus. On top of that, it gives you better weapon handling and stats. So you'll have insanely fast reloads. I think it increases your stability, so it's easier to be accurate. You know, so you compare that to like Vorpal. Vorpal only does, I think, 10% damage to majors, like champions, I think yellow bars, and bosses. Frenzy works, does more damage, gives you more perks, and it works on bosses, it works on everything. So once you kill Termiks, or whatever his name is, you just gotta shoot these Witch Queen symbols, and then you go pick up the worm off the statue. And then the boss is going to spawn in. And actually the boss was the main reason I wanted to use the linear fusion rifle. Because basically he's going to open his mouth and he's going to shoot arc at you. And the only time you could damage is, it's like a very, I don't know, like 3-4 second window after he shoots. When his mouth is red like that. So it's after he's done shooting the arc and his mouth is glowing red, that's when you can do damage. So usually I get him to shoot his arc to one side, then I quickly go over to the other side and get a shot or two in. Sometimes you can get 2 shots in, most of the time it's just 1. But usually 2 shots, 2-3 shots, and then he backs out and goes immune. So he's not a hard boss to kill at all. It's not like it's more the mechanics of the boss room. After each phase, it's all the ads that spawn in.
The hive magic powering that illusion is lifted. If you escape, it can't follow.
No chance of that.
So the second wave and the third wave of ads have ogres. There's no unstoppables. But those yellow bar ogres are gonna spam you with arc, and they'll take you out pretty quick. And also there's some yellow bar void shielded scorn that are gonna be trying to snipe you with their void projectiles from far away. So you really gotta play carefully when the ogres and the scorn are out. Now, it is tempting to use super on the ogres, and if you get overwhelmed here in the boss fight, but I'm saving my super for the very end. Because after this, you're going to get on a Pike, you're going to race, you're going to try and race out of the temple, and get to the end of the mission. And you're on a timer, so you got to do it fast. But at the very end, there's going to be 2 overloads next to each other with a whole bunch of ads, and you're on a time limit, so you have to be super quick about taking them out. So I want to use Star Eater scales to get Feast of Light going, and as you can see, I've already got Feast of Light ×4, so I do not want to waste it. I'm saving it for the end. So all I have to do is I have to get there in good time, and then I have to quickly get off the Pike, and I have to try and stun both overloads together at the same time, or like within a couple of seconds of each other, and then Blade Barrage and hope I can take them both out, or at least one, and get the other one finishable so that I can get the heck out before the timer kills me. So that's why I'm holding on to my super. But yeah, and as far as heavy, like I was saying, I wanted to go with linear fusion for the boss, because I've done it before where you can use a rocket, but it's so easy to waste your rockets. Like if your timing is not perfect, the projectile speed on the rocket might not get there in time, and his mouth will close, won't be red anymore, and you're just going to get immune hits constantly. As far as the rest of the mission goes, a rocket launcher I think would be better, because the overloads don't stay still for long. And it's kind of hard to hit crits when they're moving around, and they have small heads. But mainly I wanted to use it against the worm, and like I said, I just haven't had a chance to use Taipon yet. So once you clear all the ogres and enemies here, you're just gonna basically do one more shot of damage on them. So I've got 3. Yeah, I've got 3 left on for my heavy, so I'm not wasting any more on him. Basically, you just need to do one shot, and then he'll go away. And he's gonna come back out. He's gonna pretend to kill you. You're gonna be like, "Oh no, there's nothing I can do. I just lost the mission." No, don't worry. He's just going away, and then.
Of course that Ahamkara would have one final move.
Now he's
We gotta find a way out. Fast.
filled the whole room with suffocating haze, I guess. You got 2 minutes. 2 minutes and 15 seconds now. So it'll be those 2 scoring at the bottom, 1 at the top. You got to get rid of because he's a sniper. So watch the guy on the top. You got the 2 over here by the Pikes. Just get these guys out of the way. Then you could hop on the Pike, and basically I just ignore all the enemies. You can shoot. You can shoot the missiles or whatever it is that the Pike has, but for the most part, you don't even need to. You can literally just zoom by everything. So I actually thought it might get blown up there. Wasn't exactly a smooth ride. Yeah, so get through all these spawns here. Now here we go. And I wasn't sure if I was going to get hit in the back by those other ads, so I was kind of panicking. See, I got a double stun off with 1 arrow. I didn't even realize it until I saw them both sitting there with their heads down, stunned. And then my Blade Barrage almost took them both out at the same time, but that was actually...
Ghost. Guardian. Come in.
I was pretty happy with that. That was my first time trying to take them both out at the same time like that, because on Legend difficulty, it's just 1 overload. But anyways, hope you enjoyed. That's it for this week. We'll see you in the next one.